Bienvenue à Les Affaires Brassicoles, votre balado sur l'entrepreneuriat brassicole du Québec, avec Leonardo Calcagno de Baron Mag.
Bonjour tout le monde, ici Leonardo Calcagno des Affaires Brassicoles. J'espère que vous allez bien tout le monde. Comme je dis, nous autres, on prépare plein de choses qui s'en viennent pour Baron Mag. Tournée, magazine, infolette qui s'en vient. Puis bien sûr, on est en entrevue toute la semaine avec plein de monde de l'industrie. Merci encore à tout le monde de s'abonner à Les Affaires Brassicoles, bien sûr, notre section Light et notre section Pro. Appuyez-nous dans la section Pro parce que ça nous aide beaucoup à mettre en place plus de contenu, travailler plus sur des objets qu'on veut faire, comme des dossiers, tout ça. Et comme vous savez, l'industrie brassicole est en plein changement puis plein d'affaires qui se passent. Écoute, à chaque jour, on a des nouveautés comme ça. Vous savez, vous voyez de plus en plus des articles qui sortent dans Baron Mag, plus d'articles quotidiens, bien sûr le prêt-à-boire, tout ça, mais aussi, on continue à parler beaucoup de bière, mais comme l'été s'en vient, il y a beaucoup de produits qui s'en viennent, puis on est en train de travailler sur une façon différente de créer du contenu pour l'industrie en soi. Aujourd'hui, on fait une entrevue en anglais avec la gang en Ontario. Comme vous savez, nous autres, Baron Mag, on est en Ontario depuis un bout de temps, puis dans les Maritimes. Puis on va chaque année à l'OCBC, Ontario Craft Brewers Association Event, qu'on fait à chaque année. On lance un magazine là-bas, on fait les entrevues avec du monde. Puis une des affaires qu'on fait aujourd'hui, la raison qu'on fait l'entrevue importante aujourd'hui, c'est l'annonce qu'on a faite la semaine passée, que l'Ontario va changer son système de taxation pour les microbrasseries, puis les compagnies de la boisson. Si vous suivez Baron Mag depuis un bout de temps, vous savez que nous autres, on écrit beaucoup sur l'Ontario, au moins 2 fois par semaine. Les fermetures des beer stores, les changements législatifs, tout ça. Doug Ford fait beaucoup de travail aussi pour mettre en place des nouveaux systèmes d'investissement, puis bien sûr, une taxe, une réforme des taxes, de taxation pour la bière puis pour la boisson. Aujourd'hui, on est chanceux d'avoir le président de l'Association des brasseries en Ontario, Scott Simmons, qui va nous parler un petit peu de qu'est-ce qui est arrivé, comment ça a été le combat. On a un bon 15 minutes avec lui pour discuter là-dessus. Puis, bien sûr, on va continuer à parler de ça tranquillement, de ce qui se passe dans l'industrie. Si vous avez des questions, leonardo@baronmag.com. Puis bien sûr, we talk with Mr. Scott Simmons. How are you?
I'm doing well. Appreciate the invite.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure that last week there was an explosion of you on your phone for sure.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was a culmination of a couple of years' work, and there's still more work yet to be done. But that was an exciting announcement, and I'm very happy for all the craft breweries in Ontario. It's well deserved and long overdue.
It is. It's amazing. I mean, when we got the email that you guys did a tax reform for craft brewers, then afterwards there was Doug Ford put some more money in the industry. Plus the other industry or growth a lot, and that was something that let's say we were jealous here in Quebec. We're very jealous of what's happening. So first of all, Godspeed. It was amazing. I saw your Safe Craft, local craft, your ad that you guys were doing. Besides that work you done, how's the industry very fast in Ontario right now? We travel a lot, but how's the industry right now?
Well, I think the conditions in Ontario are probably similar to those in Quebec or really anywhere across the country. Little bit of background. In the decade 2010 to 2019, the craft brewing industry in Ontario was the fastest growing segment of all manufacturing. Think about that for a minute. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So, there was tremendous growth in the industry, and then we all know what happened in 2020 with the pandemic. And it seems like the last 4 or 5 years have been the perfect storm of things to really disrupt our industry, from everything that happened with COVID. And then you have record-breaking inflation, and then runaway input costs. Costs of everything are going up for all of us, groceries, etc. But the input costs for making beer, they seem to go up much higher than most products. Everything from cardboard to aluminum to malt, hops, everything, gas, transportation. So you combine that with a flat industry and competition from things like ready-to-drink RTDs, taking a bite out of beer volume. All these things conspired to make it very difficult to make a living in the craft beer industry. And through all this time, we have been advocating strongly with the provincial government that, here we have 340 small businesses located in literally every postal code across the province. They are tremendous benefits to their local industry, supporting local charitable causes, creating jobs. And there's an interesting stat from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business that, when we shop locally at a locally owned business, 66 cents of every dollar stays in that community. Whereas if we buy from a foreign owned company, it's only 11 cents. So, all these things add up to the story we were telling government that you need to support these small businesses because they're such an important part of our provincial economy. And the way the tax is structured is grossly unfair to small businesses. And so we went in with a 4 or 5 pronged attack of things that we thought needed to be changed. And we're very, very happy that last week we saw the start of the changes. We're not done. There's still a lot left to be done, and I'm happy to elaborate on what's still left to be done if you want to go there.
I want to go for both of them. First of all, tax reform. What does it mean for you guys, and what does it mean in a daily basis for brewers?
Well, I'll start with a stat. Part of you mentioned our Save Local Craft Beer campaign, which was very effective in getting of more awareness out there to government and, quite frankly, to our members about what the key issues are. I mean, they live this every day, but to summarize it and kind of show them in actual numbers how it was affecting their business was eye-opening. And of course, I think hope it made an impact at Queen's Park, and it did, or we wouldn't have got the changes we wanted. But one of the stats we put into that campaign was that smaller craft brewers in Ontario were paying tax at 8 times the rate of similar-sized brewers in Alberta. And to put that into real numbers, it's about $80 a hectoliter for a small brewer in Ontario, whereas it's $10 in Alberta. So, we went to government and asked for a bunch of things. We said, number one, you have to reduce taxes significantly to allow these small businesses to be able to compete. And what we really wanted was progressive tax so that, the smallest brewers, which, as you probably know, represent 90% of the industry, under 5,000 hex, even under 2,000 hex, they need to pay the lowest rate. So similar to Alberta, something like $10 to $20, not $80, and then have it progressive as your volume grows, and also set it up marginally like federal excise, where even as you grow, you will still pay the lower tax rates on your lower volume segments. And that's the way federal excise is structured. Right now, the way it works in Ontario, and if I'm not mistaken, all provinces, is that as you grow in volume, your tax rate grows, and you're paying that higher tax rate on every hectoliter you produce. So simply put, it really inhibits and disincentivizes people to grow, because if I want to grow from 10,000 to 40,000 hectoliters, my tax bill is going to triple. And, my marginal return on every extra hectoliter might actually be less. So we put all these arguments in front of government, and what they came out with last week was cutting the tax rate in half, which is incredible.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. So it works out to be about $20 a hectoliter. So if you're a 5,000 hect brewery, that's going to save you $100,000 a year. And obviously, if you're bigger, it's going to save you more. But all these things I've mentioned over the last few minutes, government has promised us that they're going to continue working with us to make it happen, because we're not done yet. This was a huge first step, and we're very thankful to the provincial government for listening and understanding our proposal, but we're not done yet. There's still a lot more left to do.
What does it mean for a brewer right now? When we talk to your partners, to your members, is it more investment in the industry? Is it going to be more launching new products? Is it going to be more paying debts? What's going to happen with a 50% cut?
I think it'll be a combination of all three things you just said, and it really will depend on the individual circumstances of the brewer. But I think a lot of it's going to go to investment, because, I don't know how closely you've paid attention to the retail landscape in Ontario, but with the ending of what was called the Master Framework Agreement that really gave the beer store kind of control of the retail market in Ontario, that's now gone, being phased out. And we've gone from almost overnight 2,000 retail outlets to about 8,000. So
I know, I saw that, yeah.
you know, C stores are about 5,000 of that. So convenience stores. So your distribution costs are going to go up, obviously, because you've got a much larger and more fragmented distribution network to service, retail network. So we told this to government. We said, look, you've got to lower the taxes. You ended the master framework agreement to supposedly help small brewers, small business, Ontario Craft Brewers, which is fantastic. But unless you lower taxes, they won't have the money to invest and compete, because they've got to hire more salespeople. They've got to buy another truck. They've got to perhaps expand the brewery operation, et cetera, et cetera. So most of the members I've talked to have said they're going to use the money to invest.
Okay.
But I'm sure, to your previous point, based on the struggles of the last 5 years, there's a lot of debt to be repaid as well. So it'll be a combination.
That's good. So what's missing? I mean, you were talking in the beginning that there's like more fight to come. So what else is coming?
Yeah, I think so. So it was a 50% tax cut, which is great. But I still want to get to what I said earlier, where we take the rate even lower for the smallest of craft breweries, okay, and have kind of a progressive rising tax rate. And then also make it marginal, like federal excise, where as you grow, you're not being penalized. You're still going to pay the lower tax on the lower volumes. If you understand what I'm saying, that's the way federal excise is structured. So I think government understands that point. And there's a couple of other things as well. You reach the maximum tax rate in Ontario right now at 225,000 hectoliters. And as you and your listeners would know, a brewer, that's pretty big for a craft brewery, 225,000 hecs, but you're still nowhere near the size of the foreign-owned multinationals. So why should you be paying the same tax as them? So you shouldn't reach the max tax until you get even up to 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 hecs would be helpful. And then the last thing is more administrative. In Ontario, there's kind of three separate taxes that brewers pay. There's the basic tax, there's a volume tax, and then there's this crazy environmental can levy, where on every aluminum beer can, you're paying 8.973 cents in tax. Like it's crazy. The reasons for why that was implemented are long gone, and we don't have time today to get into it. But the fact that brewers are still paying it is crazy. So we've asked government to collapse all three taxes into one tax, make it simple, and drastically lower the rates. So the announcement last week was a fantastic start. We've now got much lower rates, but there's still more work to do to, in my mind anyway, to finish the play.
It is amazing. I mean, like I'll tell you in the beginning of the interview, we talked with a couple of members here in Quebec, and people were like very jealous about it. I talked to the Maritimes also. There's like, these guys are doing an amazing work. Do you think that something like the Ontario Craft Brewers Association can help the other members across Canada to do something like that? Because there's an organization called the Association of Brewers together across Canada. Do you think you can do a framework for everybody to help them out, maybe work out, because every province is different? But do you think you can help out to do a structure like that for across the province?
It's a great question and a great idea, and we're very fortunate now that about 5 years ago, we finally launched the Canadian Craft Brewers Association. Yeah. Like up until 5 years ago, believe it or not, there was never a national association representing craft breweries across the country. The only national association has been Beer Canada, and they mostly represent the interests of the large foreign-owned multinationals. So we were very proud to get that launched. I've been on the board since day one. It's a federated model, which means it's really the provinces that are members of the board. And you have a fantastic leader in Quebec. Marie-Ève does a fantastic job, and she's on our board, as well as the other people in our chairs at the other provinces. So we chat about exactly those things all the time. We compare notes on how things work in each other's province. We take best practices, and we try to take what we need in our province and use those ideas and bring them to life. So yes, we are sharing data. We're sharing ideas. While we got a great tax break here in Ontario, if I'm not mistaken, we had the highest tax rate of all provinces to begin with. So,
Ontario all the time. Yeah.
Other provinces may be jealous of what we just got, but they may actually still have a lower tax rate than we do here in Ontario, even after the change. So, just look at the numbers carefully. But I've chatted with people from every province across the country. I was just in Newfoundland on the weekend and, chatted with Justin Fong out there who owns Kitty Vitty, and he's also on the board of the National Association. And then you go all the way out west to BC, and Ken Beatty is a great leader there, and Blair Berdusco in Alberta. Like we've got a great team. Christine Camo is our executive director, and we're making things happen. Working on federal excise reform for craft brewers right now federally. But to answer your question, yes, we are sharing intelligence with each other to hopefully help each other.
One of the questions I've asked to a couple of brewers and a couple of associations is the opening of the market. I know Doug Ford just signed a deal with Alberta to open the market. Manitoba, they just signed a deal to open the market for beer, for breweries, stuff like that. What's the reaction and what's going to happen to your market? Is it soon or not soon? What's happening with that?
Well, it's a difficult answer to question because we don't. Question to answer because we don't have enough information yet. Our board has talked about it, and we're very supportive of opening up e-commerce where, if someone in Quebec wants a case of beer from a brewery in Ontario, they should be able to get it delivered to their house. If someone in Ontario wants a case of beer from their favorite brewery in British Columbia or Alberta, they should be able to get it. We don't think it's going to lead to a lot of volume because beer is very heavy and expensive to ship.
Locally buy.
Most craft beer is still not pasteurized, so you need refrigerated trucking, so it's even more expensive. So by the time the case lands on your doorstep, it's going to be pretty pricey. So we don't think it's going to mean a lot to our industry, but at the same time, it shouldn't be. It should be legal for all of us to order product over provincial borders. As far as what's going to happen at retail, that's a hard question to answer because our government hasn't told us how they envision that working yet in terms of access to out-of-province brewers on the shelves of Ontario retail stores and vice versa. So it's something our board is looking at.
My last question, what's happening with Doug Ford, man? Because it's been, I remember he did the $1 a buck that didn't work out very well. Now he's investing a lot of money in in your industry. What's happening with him right now? He's doing a very great work right now and pushing that market right now.
Well, there was a provincial election here in February, March, where he got reelected. So obviously the people in Ontario think he's doing a good job. And I've had the honor of meeting him numerous times, and he's always listening. Minister of Finance as well, I've met with numerous times. They're always listening. And what happened last week, I think, is just testament that they have been listening to our industry. I think when that whole buck of beer thing happened, 4 or 5 years ago, the intent was good. It just, it's something that couldn't work for our industry at the time simply because of the pricing mechanisms. But it was all done to try to spur the economy and try to support local small businesses with good intent. So our relationship with the provincial government is strong. We're very thankful for the changes they announced last week, and they also signaled a commitment to keep working with us to finish the play on the things that I've mentioned earlier in the interview. So the work never stops, but I'm very happy for our members. It's going to be, allow them to take a breath of air and stay above the waterline, if you will, and hopefully grow their business. We think we're still underdeveloped as an industry here in Ontario. We're about 11-12% of the market, and if you look out west, BC is closer to 30%, Alberta is closer to 20%. That's what I'm shooting for, and that's why we keep going to government, because the more we can grow this industry, the more it's going to help the provincial economy. The stat I said earlier about the money that stays in the community when you buy from a locally owned business. So we all win by this. The consumer wins, the businesses win, the government wins, the economy wins. So still a lot of work to do, but I appreciate you having me on the show and happy to chat again anytime.
Excellent. Well, Scott, first of all, again, congrats on you and your team. It's an amazing win. And like I said, I was in Ottawa a couple of days ago, and people were talking about it. So congrats! I'll see you at the Hamilton, I think, this year again. CBC.
We'll be there. And for your listeners, November 5, 6 at the Hamilton Convention Center. We'd love to see you all there. Tickets are really cheap. Well, I shouldn't say cheap. They're a great value for what we offer. And for all the suppliers listening too, we've got a great trade show and supplier marketplace with about 120 suppliers, great guest speakers and keynotes. Check us out at www.ontariocraftbrewers.com/conference.
All right.
I can get that plug in.
Excellent. So thank you very much, man, and have a great day. And again, congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you so much, and cheers to everyone.
Thanks. Merci beaucoup tout le monde d'avoir écouté les affaires brassicoles. Si vous avez des questions concernant l'Ontario, suivez nos articles sur le baronmag.com. On sera à Hamilton aussi avec la gang de Keg Management et Keg Management. Si vous avez des questions, leonardo@baronmag.com, puis bien sûr, une section Ontario sur le Baron Mag. Merci beaucoup et à la prochaine.